What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back to another pre-market watch list. So today what we're going to be talking about is pretty much the earnings that happened last night. And then maybe we'll look at even McDonald's or Caterpillar or something like that. And pretty much touch on everything that's moving here this morning. All right, so let's get ready to rock and roll here, and we'll just pop this on a full screen. So we'll start here with Facebook. Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. Flying high this morning, bud. Flying real high. I bet his net worth just went up by another $6 billion or something. So you can see here, Facebook earnings crushed it from 307, now trading up to 332, so about a 25-point move. Now, if we look at the 4-hour chart, theoretically, we are right on resistance. So I was kind of thinking we might start with the pullback out of the gates before we continue running. We'll see. On the daily chart, we're not really too overbought yet. See, on the daily chart, we still have some room to go. So the way that this would appear is this line that I just had would be the long-term top resistance mark for the 4-hour chart. And then this in here will be the daily chart half deviation. So we'll just color code that. Boom, boom. And then the next one up here would be your next trending target for the daily chart. So we'll make that guy green. Okay. So the way that it would appear is when we go to the 1-minute chart, we have just broken over the 4-hour, 180-day 4-hour long-term resistance mark. So for now, this is kind of like what I would say is the resistance pocket, where if we can actually get through, this is where you see the market run. So we got to get up through this point. If we can get through, stay above the blue, get through the white dotted line here with strong momentum, then we have the potential for the market to run more on Facebook, maybe even up to the 346 price. Then if we get to the 346 price, I mean, this is all what ifs, but you know, at the end of the day, these are all still logical targets. And if you're super lucky, you might even see it rip all the way up to here. So let's just say it's supposed to have a really good day. The at most target would be 370, 100%. At most is 370. I think somewhat of a logical target, if this has a nice long move today, at most could be really 345. So I'm really not even looking for anything more than 345 on the long side with Facebook right now. And if it went all the way up to 370, then awesome. But another 40 points up today on this? I don't think so. Now, what about the downside? So what if all of that is kind of wrong, right? What do we see on the downside? Well, on the downside, we have a support dip that comes in here, which will probably change slightly, but close enough for now at 320. And then let's check the 4-hour chart. And then we have a support dip here, which is significantly closer. That would probably be, it doesn't matter, but then we have one here. This is a half. So we'll make that the way it should be. So the way this looks is this is a little resistance pocket. Through this can lead to a break up. We also could just kind of hesitate here and roll down the market, and your support would be all the way down to about 324. So let's say we fail to break out here, market shifts down, we could see moves to 324 and to 320, and this would be a decent bottom long zone for the day. So as the price of Facebook comes down into 324 and into 320 for the first time on the day, you would look to be more long bias there until that bounce were to fail. All right. And then going into the open, we're going to be looking to be only long bias as the prices shift through this with good momentum. And then we would look to target up to pretty much this zone of 341 to 346. And as it gets there, we would be a little hesitant on trying to be long, because there's a good chance we'll start to see some pullbacks or an attempt to pull back in that zone for the day on Facebook. All right. So that's Facebook. All right. Now let's move over to Apple. All right, so AAPL, we're pretty much going to go through the same process. I almost guarantee that this price point right here, I haven't even looked at it. I don't even know. This is the first time I'm doing my analysis on Apple today, and I'm doing it with you guys. So I'm going to probably guarantee that this 139.50, give or take 20 cents, top bottom, or so will be perfectly off one of our deviation resistances. So let's start with the daily chart. We're going to go, let's see if I'm right. Let's see, this is, okay, so we'll just, I don't even know what the price is at. Hold on one second. So it's 137. So our first potential resistance point would come in about here on this line. All right, and then let's check the 4 hour. The 4 hour level, nah, we didn't, I was wrong, but we were close. So we didn't actually hit the resistance mark. We were off by about $1. So that was the top tick kind of resistance mark that I would have for Apple. And we were about 50 cents shy of that, 70 cents. So I was off by a little bit, unfortunately. So the way that we would look at this is on the long side of Apple today, we would see that these are potential good targets up to 140 to 141 or so. And then on the downside, which we've already kind of tested, the downside would be this price point here of 136.24. And daily chart is at, let me remove this and remove, well, that's not even going to matter because we're up a bit. So yeah, don't think so. But let's say it really did have a bad day. All right. So really right now, the objective for the long bias traders on Apple is to get the price to this 140.70, almost 141 price. Because as you shift through 141, whether it be today or tomorrow, that's where you can have a big jump. So for right now on Apple, I think we're going to be more long bias, looking for maybe a move more towards the 140s today on Apple. All right. Really, those are the two big main ones. We'll just peek at Caterpillar really quick. Not a lot of volume. MCD, not a ton of volume there. MasterCard, MA, not a ton of volume there. Maybe, let's check QCOM. QCOM, this could have a good move today. So let's take a look at the analysis here. All right, so we haven't even hit top tick resistance. All right, so the way that we would look at Qualcomm is Qualcomm has a potential move to the 149.70s, so we would change this to a solid white. All right, it has potential little dip support about here at 142-ish, something. Color code that white and dotted, boom, and then we also will check the daily chart. Daily chart has a target prior to regression, which will be here, and that is going to be dotted. And then you also have this, and that would be probably not going to happen. So the way that this looks is you have a potential little dip support area of about 142, a first long target up to 146.30, which if you look is pretty much the exact top pre-market. So this half deviation is the resistance. So through that price point is the breakout. And if you were to break out 146, you would look for a move up to about 149 on Qualcomm. All right. There aren't really any good penny stocks this morning that I believe are really there. I mean, people are following BTX. So this is another one. A lot of people are following BTX. This thing is definitely, I mean, the momentum is strong. It's obviously a little overbought. Daily chart TTM is not dark blue, so really we haven't started much selling pressure. Same thing with the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart isn't even really dark blue in the TTM, so really we don't have aggressive selling just yet. But in the event this thing actually crashes, you could see it crash all the way down to about $21. So $20 down is a logical move for the stock on a crash, which would take you back down to like the low point of yesterday. So overall, probably not going to do a lot with BTX. It's just not a stock I'm as comfortable trading with the way that I trade. But for the most part, we're expecting this is going to crash at this point. We've hit 50s. It's pretty high. So kind of following this for more of a bearish move than anything at this point. Now, we will touch on the SPY and we will touch on NASDAQ. But first, I want to touch on NEO. NEO was on the watch list yesterday. Our recommended buy prices for NEO were pretty much this bottom, almost exactly. We'll see how close to price targets. Actually, I think they're still pretty much the same. So you see this trend? See that trend? See where we bounced yesterday? So my price targets were to be long NEO at the prices of about 40.50. Not that it was a big day yesterday, but yesterday we came right into our support, and this would be a day where you would dip buy, hold, in anticipation the trend continues higher. So let me explain. So when we look at the 4-hour chart, it doesn't really matter. 4-hour just gives us a little bit more detail to work off of. So you can see that we've been long NEO. It broke out here, ran, and I had suggested the days that it was trading up here that we needed to pull back. We should pull back, and we'd probably pull back down to this trend, which would be the price of 40.50. We pulled back down to the price of 40.50, and that's why we recommend it as a long, because if the move is meant to trend up and this is just a pullback, then we would buy the pullback support in anticipation that the trend continues higher. So as the market pulls back to trend support, yesterday we bought NEO here and we're holding overnight, looking for the stock to continue higher. Now, if the move fails, right, if it doesn't continue higher, look at where our entry is at. Our entry is the support. So when it breaks, we have a very, very minimal loss, if not any loss, because we could say it's going to go down and take it off before it even breaks support. So that's the importance of buying the support trend and buying the dip, is that if the trend stops and if the trend fails, your stop loss price is where support is breaking. Your stop loss, is your entry for the most part, rather than waiting for it to go up, buying on a high, then it pulls back, and then you're like, well, does it hold support? And then when it breaks, so you go from a loss, right? So if your entry's up here, support's down here, you go red, 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 break support, big red, now you're out, versus where entry is right here, it comes down to our entry and we go, okay, it's going to break, stop out, tiny loss. So hopefully we can see this trend here continue up on NEO. All right, next thing we'll touch on is the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ bounced exactly where we said it was going to bounce yesterday, which was the 9 moving average. All right, so the recommendation for yesterday was if the market tries to go a little bearish, you should expect it's going to get bought up here on this dotted blue line. Bounce, 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 all-time highs. All right, so markets overall are up. We have broken, I believe, this little resistance. So for the most part, we're just going to recommend the price of the market is going to go up to about 348 on the NASDAQ. We're trading at 342. So we're recommending a price target of 348 over the coming days on the NASDAQ. For the SPY, all-time highs, as suggested, we're looking for a target anywhere in the 422 to the 427. So there's a 5-point range here. We're expecting that the SPY will probably hit about 423. Days to come, we'll see prices of 424s, 426s, and so on. And that's really today's watch list, ladies and gentlemen. So going to do something a little new today. Might be trying to incorporate this into my regular schedule. It'll be a big workload, but it probably would be worth it. But going to try to start coming on and doing a stream like almost every day after I trade and take a little break, come on for a couple hours and do some analysis and pretty much some live breakdowns more throughout maybe the afternoon session. So we'll see what you guys think about it. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Everybody take care.